Oh, that's because we need some light. That's a little better. Get that over there. Live. Let's see if I got my. Get my other light going here. Yeah, I got some juice over there. Hopefully everybody's doing good. I'm back from my road trip. Went all the way up to Seattle, Washington area and back. It was a long haul because it was, I left early in the morning and just drove, drove all the way up there. Came back. Frosty cold beverage. There we go. And then now headed down to Southern California to West Tech. And then out to Vegas, to LS Fest West. I've got the V12 in the back of my truck. Also picked up a Metro, which is a whole nother interesting story. I'm going to be doing videos on that. It's an XFI. So I've got some stuff we got to do. This is maybe quite possibly the worst car I've ever bought. But in all the right kinds of good ways, though. So yeah, there was some adventure going on with that thing. We'll talk about that, and so for important safety tips, because I'm all my fault, but good stuff. So I'll be able to do some videos on. I mean, first of all, the video that I'm going to do is just cleaning it. I mean, it's in a state of disarray. It has all kinds of things going on, and it has some things that we have to try to diagnose and figure out, and so it'll be an interesting thing. And then obviously the big thing is that now I have a vehicle or a motor or combination that I can put the AMR supercharger, the AMR 500 supercharger on. This is a perfect application for this. So I've been contemplating all these different scenarios. How am I going to add fuel to this? Am I going to do an FMU? Am I going to do a fuel pump? Am I going to do a water meth injection system? How am I going to do all this? So it's all good stuff. So that will be a fun exercise, and we'll do that after I get back from LS Fest. I have I'm bringing lots of cams with me. So guys, if there's anybody out there in LS Fest land, if you guys are wanting cams, come by and see me. I'm supposed to have some sort of little display. So it'll be me and it's all by myself, talking to myself like I do here. With the truck, the V12 will be in the back of the truck. So it'll be on display. So you can come kind of check it out. It looks pretty cool. And then I'm going to bring I think I've got a couple LS books left, so I could sign a couple of those. There's not too many. So, first come, first serve, come by and say hi and maybe buy a book. The PayPal thing still has not solved itself. I'm still working on that. We're trying to go the nice route first, and then we'll do other routes if that becomes necessary. So I'm hoping that gets worked out. We've got some people working on that. So hopefully that will take care of itself, because I'd like to continue to use that because it's a good option for people because they feel comfortable buying that through some sort of, payment source. But we'll see if it's obviously I need to get the money too. And to be able to sell the stuff. So we're going to do I'm doing a website and a store to, places where people can go buy it. That will also help with that situation. But I'm excited about the V12. It'll be on display at LS Fest. When I get back from that, it gets shipped out to Brian Tooley Racing. We're going to try to run it and see. We got our fingers crossed. Hopefully all of that works out. And if the motor runs and works like it's supposed to, then we will also do a cam swap and an intake manifold swap. Right now, you can see from the thumbnail for display, it'll have the high ram on it, the V12 high ram, the custom V12 high ram. And so that will be cool, but we'll run it with the stock cam. Right now, it's got a V12 version of an LS6 camshaft in it. And then it has a V12 version of the factory long runner composite intake manifold. And we'll run that, and then we'll upgrade the heads and cam if everything goes right. We'll see when we get back to Brian Tooley Racing. I'm sure we'll have to put Brian Tooley Racing valve springs in it. I don't know what the springs are that are in it right now. I want to verify the push rod length. make sure that we have that correct, and then just basically make sure that it's has compression in all the holes and is firing and cooperating generally. We have the Haltech harness that they sent. Thank you guys. Shout out to the guys at Haltech. And Brian Tooley Racing and James have the Haltech ECU there. So it'll just be, hopefully hooking it up and hooking all the cylinders up and hooking all the coils and all that stuff up. And, that part of it at least should be just like running a V8. There's just extra, plugs to plug in, but that takes no time at all. So hopefully all of that should work out. That, again, you don't know until, how good plans. Hey, we just go in, we put it on there, run it on the dyno, everything works perfect. We swap the heads in the intake manifold, the camshaft, and all that works perfect. And then we could it works so good that then we could think about putting boost on it, and then that works good. And it's just like that. It's like, it's like this little Metro. I'll just go up and pick up a Metro. It's a perfectly good running car, and it'll be all fine. And life is not, as we know, life is not like that. Not. In fact, that would definitely be the exception and not the rule. But I'm excited about getting down there. Like I said, I got a truckload of stuff. I got a bunch of cams. I'll probably even bring some of the used cams I still have as far as LS stuff. So if somebody's interested in some of those, I'll have some of those. And then if anybody has ordered cams just recently, I won't be able to get those out until after LS Fest. So fear not, your money's not going anywhere. I don't have access to it. Only PayPal does. But hopefully we get that taken care of. It'll be great to see. I've only been out to LS Fest West once, and I just drove out there. I was down doing dyno testing like I normally am at West Tech Performance. I just drove out there during the day and just walked around, said hi to everybody, and said, "Hey, cool, yeah." And then I got back in, and I just drove back to West Tech. It's only like a 500-mile trip out and back to see everybody and stay for an hour and say hi. But it is cool to get together with everybody. So I'm hoping that I'll get to see a lot of people in the industry and then meet a bunch of new people, which is always cool, which I got to do when I went up and picked up the V12. He and I have been talking a lot on the phone all about all kinds of stuff. And but it's nice to get to meet people in person and say hi, look them in the eye, and shake their hands. Plus, he had an amazing dog, a very big Alaskan Malamute, which I, being a dog guy, it was very cool. I like seeing that. So we'll the testing coming up. I have Holly has sent me the distributor and a carburetor for the V6, the 4.3 liter. So we'll be able to run that. I need to send off the lid for that Smoky Unic intake manifold, I guess, to Tom DeMuse. He's going to make a spacer so that we can space that plate up. And then, or maybe I could, maybe I'll send him a drawing because we want to kind of run the manifold the way that it is. I'm a little curious because part of the inside of the manifold is missing, and we need to, and I could just make something that's a turtle or a razorback or whatever shape we want to call it. Just a divider, a tapered divider, let's call it, so that fuel goes to both sides. I'm doing something kind of cool with regards to that manifold. Somebody reached out to me that has a cross ram setup that they're doing, the small block Chevy 82, 84, the cross ram fuel injection. So I think that's an L83, right? I think that's what that designation is. And so they've got upgrades on that they've done. I think they've made a plate where they're putting carburetors on it, which would be cool. But I think that they're using 2-barrel carburetors on it, which again will be interesting. I kind of want to do something with one of those, so I've got some plans for that. Just because it's different enough and weird enough that not that I think that that's the optimum one. I'm not hey, cross rams rule the world. I think it's really cool. I think it looks really cool too. I think that the cross ram for me is the second coolest fuel injection setup that GM did. It looks really good with the factory because I like that oval, that offset oval air cleaner, because I like the one that they did on the 69Z28 too. The carbureted version of that had 4 barrels on it. That looks really, really cool. And I like the way that they did that on the fuel injected version also. It's just that with the air cleaner off, that fuel injection doesn't look as cool as a tune port does. So I think a tune port still, for me, wins for the coolest looking, the best visual statement. The best visual statement by a factory fuel injection is, and the winner is factory L98 tune port stuff. But Crossfire, I think would be second best, but only with the air cleaner in place. But I do want to do some testing with that. I just think it's cool to show that, it's always good to show, hey, look, this is what it is. And let's face it, it's limiting for a number of reasons. It's limiting for every reason. It has not enough fuel flow. It has not enough airflow going in, and then also not enough airflow going out. I still need to measure the runner length to see what that effective runner length is, and then what the cross section is for the runners. I know that it pinches really bad down at the head port, because the head port, the exit basically of the manifold into the head, is really small on the Crossfire setup, which definitely is going to limit flow. The opening needs to be at least as big as the opening is into a cylinder head. So if you're taking that Crossfire setup and mating it to a set of Airflow Research 195 heads, as you should. But if you're doing that to a head like that, that opening needs to be the same size. It doesn't, you could port match it if you want to the airflow head, but it needs to be that size because it needs to be able to flow that amount. If you did that, if you port matched it to your Airflow Research heads, to your 1205 gasket or whatever the gasket is, if you did that, would the rest of the port then support what that does? Because the last thing you want to do is have a small, a small diameter or small cross section port, and then have it go, get really big at the end. That's really not that beneficial. In fact, it could be detrimental. So the rest of the, whatever size that, if we can match that opening to our theoretical Airflow Research head, the rest of the port also needs to be that. So does it do that? I don't know, because I haven't mocked that up to see how big it is or what the flow rate is. And then if it doesn't, can it? Is there enough room in there for you to make a port that's that big? Do we need to cut all that out and just put some Super Richie tubes in there and crunch them down at the end to make them square and have them fit our Airflow Research heads, and then just be tubes inside there, then just be kind of a cool stacky sideways cross ram kind of deal, whatever. And then put the lid on there and hide it so that nobody can see. There are lots of possibilities for that, but I want to do one of those and kick myself for not grabbing the one that I saw that was there, I think, on the same day that I saw that 351 Cleveland. I definitely should have got. That's probably a $5,000 or $10,000 motor right now. I'm guessing. I could just be making that up. But let's get our poll going. Okay, will people come by the display to see the V12 LS at LS Fest West? Will they want to come by and see the V12? Troy, Space, Eric, Winston. Do I like the LS7? Yeah, LS7s are cool. All the LS and then whatever the next number is, all those are good. Yeah, Metro. Where's 1 Liter Mafia at? He's got to be here now. I can actually report that. Hey, I am once again. Well, although I have had a 1 liter, and in fact 2 of them, 2 1 liter motors for a long time, but now I actually have a vehicle. They delay you, so you violate their So you violate their terms and they make it harder for you to recover your funds. You have to go straight to an attorney. I have some other people that people have recommended speaking to, and I will do that if these other things that we're doing work out. Taylor, I don't have any shirts. My new rocker panels for my Grand Wagoneer came in today, but I'm going to talk to a bunch of people. Depending on who's there, I'll try to talk to Lucky and talk to some other people about getting some people to do shirts. V12 LS, the V8 LS is a great engine that's hard to see that they're improving it by making it bigger and heavier. Well, I would disagree with that. Anytime you make it bigger like that, especially if you extend cylinders, it's going to be heavier. But if the V8 is good, by that sort of logic, the V6 LS or a V4 LS would be even better, right? Because it would weigh less. But a V12 LS is it's full of ability awesomeness because it is bigger. It's almost 520 inches. This one is. What about an LT5 intake manifold? What about that? We'd like to stick around, but I'm dying to go pick up my new rocker panels. There you go. Do you have formulas for those numbers that you could show to us? What formulas for what numbers? Stock bottom end, K24 reported K20 head and upgraded cams. How much horsepower? I have no idea. I have no idea what your compression is. I have no idea what your head flow is. I have no idea what cams you upgraded to. None of that. Corvette forum guys have done quite a bit with Crossfires. I think Renegade is an aftermarket high flow version. Okay. I managed to find a very rare Richard Lee converted Edelbrock EFI intake for my Grand National. Can't believe stuff like that still out there somewhere. Yeah, people did a bunch of stuff. Let's see. If it isn't 100, I'm going to cry. What's 100? Guess what? I found a way to remove the harmonic balancer without a puller, only with manual tools. Off of what kind of motor? Work from home, productivity just went into nothing. That's that Richard guy. You could blame him. Best Cleveland was never made is a modern aluminum 3-valve Cleveland heads on a better Windsor bottom end, a Cleaver. So that's the one that you would like as a Cleaver? Bunty, what's going on? Wish I could attend LS Fest. Any events of the Midwest Indiana that come around annually? There's one in Texas. How large is the V12 compared to a Mercedes? I don't know. Other than seeing it in a vehicle, I've never seen a V12 Mercedes like sitting in the back of a truck like this one. I've certainly never measured one. I thought I was the only guy that buys an engine without a car to put it in. Yeah, I didn't buy this engine, but I'm just borrowing it. I have an engine without a car, but it's a Chevy. I have a bunch of engines without cars. I probably have 20 of them. Maybe a V12 LS can run with a Coyote, and so can any other LS3. What'd I miss? We're talking about LS V12s. I put a pry bar through the 3 branches of the pulley, and I unscrew the 24mm bolt. The bolt flange pushes on the pry bar. I don't understand how you're levering the pulley out doing that. Came back late to the party. Glad to see you got the V12. Yeah, it was an adventure. It was driving up 12 or more. Well, it took longer than 12 hours in each direction, but it was good. Toby, the 219 cam arrived today. I'm glad you got it. If you had a K24 with a K24 port head and stage 1 cams and 10.7 to 1 compression, how much would it make? I don't know what the specs are on the stage 1 cam, and I don't have no idea how much you change the head flow from porting. You can look at the K24 we did. We did a K24 with ported ported K series heads. A ported K24 head and a ported K20 head is not going to be that much different. You can see we ran it with cams, so you can kind of get an idea. Load the V12 swap an E46 BMW. That'd be good. I'd actually like to put this in a 240Z. Got my 3-bar map sensor. Turned up the boost. 20 pounds. There you go. See, I thought you were going to stay at 7 like everybody. Need to get some 40 over pistons for my 350. I'd also like to get some floating wrist pin rods with them as well. What do you recommend for a guided budget? There's endless amounts of small block Chevy stuff. So you can get pistons that are designed for a 5.7 rod, or a lot of them do 6-inch rods also. And the floating pin is pretty normal depending on the rod you get. Lot of the pistons are going to come that way anyways. If 8 is good, 12 is better. And then 16 obviously is even better, right? The LS is a great engine, not a GM fan, but you have to give them credit. It doesn't matter. There can be lots of different good stuff. That's why on my way back, I had a V12 LS and a Metro XFI and a ratty one too. I'll save all the V12 testing, just add 50% to the numbers and you're there. Yeah, I wish that it was that the real world was as easy as the math, and it never is. Have you ever messed with LT5? What's your opinion of them? Yeah, Westech actually has one. If you know anybody that wants to buy one, they have one for sale. They got one from the Chevy race shop way back, and so they're going to sell it. We were going to try to run it, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. Does the V12 have split pins like a 90-degree V6? No, it doesn't. I did not get the PayPal thing worked out yet. Is the LS V12 with equal length headers would be awesome. Or 12-1, right? It would be cool in a Z. And I wouldn't have to worry about putting forced induction or anything on it because it would already be enough NA. V12 Monte Carlo. Yeah, anything in a 70s Monte Carlo would be good. More boost is better if you stop right before he blows the heads up. Turbo sensor, you're running 12 PSI. Didn't have enough fuel pump. Now you got a 600 liter per hour. That should be enough, right? The M70 V12 was a fabulously smooth and wonderful sounding engine. BMW's first effort. Is that the which one is the one that they used in the McLaren? Which a variation of the one they used in the McLaren F1? Oliver, what did you send me a picture of? Should have just done the V16. Yeah, that's possible. Okay, let me check my spam. Stupid. Ooh, you're the lucky winner of. Yeah, thanks. That's gonna be a hard pass on that. I'm thinking no. This is I'm reading some. It's interesting how people have supplied me a bunch of information, or actually, this isn't information; these are opinions about this PayPal situation. You know, it's politics, it's EPA, it's some, they're linking them to gun. I mean, all kinds of things. It's not that. It's just, oh, they're communists was another one. I'm like, this actually isn't communism. This is actually this is actually capitalism on their part. It's you know, greed is a universal kind of thing. Let's see. Roy, I didn't see anything from you. Picking up a hot tub. Nice. Every single car brand has their good engines and horrible engines, except Kia and Hyundai. All their engines are bad. It was based on the M70. Okay, the McLaren F1. What are good brands of rods? There are lots of good brands of rods. You can buy rods from China for small block Chevys that work really, really well. Any good H beam or I beam rod for whatever you're doing works fine. If you want really high end stuff, you can do Pankel or Carrillo or that kind of stuff. But for most people, Scat and Eagle and all that stuff is fine. Might be in Messenger invitation. Did you send me a Facebook message or something, or did you send me an email? Could you do a video walk around of the Metro and its condition? I am going to. That's going to be the first video. The first video is going to be what the thing is right now, including I started to wash it yesterday and then stopped. And I'm like, I need to do a video of this because this is this is horrendous. And again, by horrendous, I mean awesome, because it will make good video. Because this was so, and I'll do the. I have a poll question for us coming up that will be the name of the Metro project. And when you hear about the history of it, I think it will become fairly obvious to you. But it needs to be cleaned. It needs to be made to run. It'll start up if you jump it because the battery's not good. And again, it has lots of personality issues. But I'm going to do a walk around of the current condition and then the first couple of upgrades that we do to it. Externally, I'm looking at it thinking I can actually make this thing look not too bad. He even gave me a spare door, which are surprisingly heavy for the door. What is an LSV12? It is an LSV8 with another 4 cylinders from another LSV8 welded onto it, and it becomes V12. Oh, you sent a Facebook thing? Yeah, you should send me an email. Message request. Oliver, what's it going to be under? I don't see it. I don't see it in Facebook either as a Facebook message. Let's see. Here's another one maybe. Nope. I'm not seeing it there. Is it Instagram? So we'll delete those. Yeah, I'm still not seeing it. Let's see. Unless it didn't come through yet. What's your favorite engine? The BMW M70. Well, the McLaren version, I think, is different than the production version. I bought what was supposed to be a 30 over block with 30 over pistons. I measured the block later and it's 40 over. That's too much piston to wall clearance. Although your ring gap is, you can run plenty of boost. The V12 was a V16 -4. Oliver, just send an email. There are 3 S70 derivatives of the M70, B56, an S70-2, and -3. Let's talk about religion and politics. Yeah, that's not going to go over well. And engine oil. I quit selling on eBay because they would pay on as-is electronics until the buyer left good feedback. Oh, would not pay. eBay is rough. Doesn't appear in the messenger. Let's give it up. I'm creating confusion. I have personality issues. Seems like nowadays it's fashionable for businesses to take a political stance. That's a individual person. I don't think that the business has a particular stance. If you go to a business and there's 10 people or 50 people or 500 people that work there, they're not all going to have the same. They're not all going to have the same views. Is the V12 going to be on a run stand? No, it's going to be in the back of my truck. Rats in the heater box. I don't know. Amazing what a billet crank, cam, and block can produce when you just add cylinders and change the firing order. Does the LS V12 sound as good as the European V12s and the titanium or Inconel straight pipes? I don't think it has any titanium or Inconel on it. It does have custom headers that are 3-into-1s on both sides of 4 of those. Prototype M8 engines led to the S70 and followed those prototypes for double overhead cam versions of the M70/S70. But Metro is just, no, it's not. It's not a Group B rally car. That would be cool. You know, the V12s that make your hair on your arm stand up when it comes to tune. I want to do a good job, make some money, and go home and enjoy my free time. That's good. Having had the rare opportunity to enjoy sitting on F1 and firing it up, I can say for sure it's the ultimate V12. You think that the BMW V12 is the ultimate one, like more than some of the Ferrari stuff? And actually, for ultimate engines, like the way that they sound, I like V10 Formula One motors. For me, that's what I entered my Sentra in a burnout contest and dyno number contest. Nice. I was wondering if a good cam. Was wondering what is a good cam to put into a Gen 3 LS1 with 862 heads and no head or bottom end work. I have 2 of them that will work really good. Either the low buck truck or the truck plus. It's one, as the name implies, one step above a truck cam. The V12 shriek because of the pipes. Amazed me that the pipe material made a difference in sound, but it does. Well, it's gonna the material is gonna vibrate at a different frequency. Really like to put a turbo Barra straight 6 in a Z. When it comes to work, we should all have the same thing in mind, making money. Yeah, that's my motivation for not the making money part, but taking care of my family. Turbo Century, you run your turbo deal on methanol? That's cool. DMC Bigfoot, you sent me an email. I hope it's good news. Oh, dogs are barking. Oliver Roy, I got your thing. Let's see. Let's see what this picture is. Oh, I see. You're levering the head of the bolt against the pry bar, right? And then as you spin it out on the pry bar, you're pulling it out. That's cool. That's hard on the damper. and I've seen those break, but that's a use what you got kind of thing. That's cool. V12 should fit right in a Metro, not even a question. Except why has it not been done yet? Where is it going to fit in the Metro? There was a McLaren and a bunch of GT3 Porsches at the rod run. That's cool. You don't see those driving around. When I was driving back from Seattle, I was driving down the freeway, or down the freeway because I was going south. And on the other side going north, there was a Hemi Cuda and then a not a Superbird, but a Daytona, the big wing on it and stuff. Went by. There must have been some sort of local thing that was going on, because you're not going to see those. Those are definitely, somebody was going to a car show or something. Let's not ruin the horsepower talk with politics. Yeah, we're not talking about politics. I'm not going to talk about politics. I'm going to say is American Firstis. I don't know what that is. What about a Cadillac 16? Yeah, you could do a V16. That's possible. If you had a lot of blow by, would that be an indication that you don't need a ring gap? Nope. That'd be an indication, might be that the rings are weak, or that the sealing surface on one or the other, either the cylinder wall or the ring, is not good. A Geo Metro. Yes, I have a Geo Metro, a 94 Geo Metro XFI. A V10 Triton. Yeah, I do want to run one of those. Transverse mounted LS V12 connected to a 4L80T and a Metro. That's going to be some wide body Metro. A 7.3 liter V12 is pretty awesome. I always wanted a V12. I wanted the CLS. Is that the one? Is that the gangster car? A twin turbo one? Richard, if you haven't watched the video on exhaust material and the difference it makes, you should watch it. Okay. The Triton V10 is one of the strangest exhaust notes. I recently discovered how much I enjoy inline 5-cylinder tones like the Volvos and Atlas motors. Closest sound to the V10 Formula One engines is the Mercedes 12 and a Zonda. I haven't heard one of those up close. So Calvin hasn't got his stuff back yet? That's too bad. The BMW V12 is built in the Formula One. From a sound perspective, is sublime perfection, just magical. The cool thing is, if you put cams and tune and exhaust on an old M70, you can hear the relation. They just need, the McLaren F1 motor just needs turbos on it, and not even very much boost, just some. You know, I'm only going to run 7 pounds. Yeah, the longer stuff goes that you don't get it back, the less it seems likely to happen. A 2-cylinder BMW bike. I'm thinking of cafe converting it. I'm going to put 2 GT15s on it. That'd be good. You have a 6-inch exhaust you're putting on something, Scott? You're day trading, Scott? Remember when Cadillac or Hot Rod put a 500 Cadillac in a Chevette? Yeah, but they had the Chevettes were offered with V6s, right? So if it's a V6 would work, in terms of width would be the thing I'd be concerned about. The length part of it is not a big deal. A lot of nice cars at Pigeon Ford Rod runs this weekend. How about a V12 LS and a green Lexus Coupe? How come people didn't play with a Jaguar V12? I think it was expensive and it was not especially powerful, right? Let me see what my dogs are doing back here. Oi, dogs! How much radiator will I need for a 6-liter LS with 2 GT35s? It will be mounted in the bed of a truck, so size is not going to be much of a problem. You don't have to worry about going too big. You're fine. The V12 will be at LS Fest in Vegas this weekend. Yeah, I'm leaving. In fact, not long. Yeah, how much aftermarket does that V12 Jaguar have, Michael? I think that's right. I don't remember seeing lots of stuff for it, but honestly, I don't remember searching for that. Didn't Top Gear put a bunch of nitrous on a Jag V12? Well, every motor will take that. So, I mean, I don't know how much that will take because I don't know. I haven't seen any tests where they were comparing, strength issues or whatever, but don't take any pictures in Vegas. I don't have to worry about stuff like that. So I was reading an email that one of the viewers sent me. Thank you very much. The Jag V6 is a go-to for upgrades. The V12 is not very powerful. Whatever became of your turbo Ford Focus? I sold the Focus a long time ago. That was back in 2008 or 9 or 10 or something like that. We did a lot of stuff with that Focus. I mean, I wrote a book on them, and we did a lot of testing with it. I think the most we made was that one deal when Nathan came out with the Pectel management system, and we set up our own fueling system on the side of the chassis dyno. Shout out to Steve and Annette at Pacific, or what is it? I keep wanting to say Vector Performance. That's not it. I'll think of it. Adrian knew he was leaving Red Bull. Pacific Performance? No, that's not it. Powertrain Dynamics. There we go. The V12 Jag offered to me cheap. The Z-Tech motors always surprised me how light they were. A cast iron block. You had a boost caboose on the stand. The turbo and all that stuff was on the motor, but we just had the fueling system. We just had a big pump and a cell and all that stuff. So that because we didn't want to, we had a big aeromotive pump that we used for it to fuel that. Is the V12 in relation to a Falconer V12? No, it has nothing to do with that. This is just an LS that has a extra cylinders welded onto the block, basically. I love my SVT Focus. They are good. How's our poll doing? Will people come by the display to see the V12 at LS Fest? Really, 8% of you are saying no, that people won't come by. Not cool, man. Not cool. Yeah, I didn't on the Focus. I didn't want to make that fuel system because we weren't going to run that motor with that turbo and stuff. That was not going to stay on for driving on the street. It was definitely not going to work. I think that was back then. I think it was a Turbonetics or a Innovative Turbo, maybe. It was a GT66, I think. So it's good size, but not very effective for spool. When I had the little I think it was a drag system, or the little turbo kit that we put on there, it was 8 pounds or whatever, 9 pounds. That was a lot of fun to drive around with. Welded, like really welded. No, it was a welded, the one block, they were cut and one block was welded to the other. So the beginning of one was welded to the end of the other, and they were welded together and then remachined, obviously. And this particular crank was I think a billet crank. He's also done welded together cranks. The heads were cut and welded together. The valve covers cut and welded together. The intake manifold cut and welded together to just make everything, instead of having 8 ports, it now has 12. And so, as you might imagine, it's a lot of work. But they're aluminum blocks, so he's really, really good at welding. Remember to buy low and sell high, unless you're shorting. Then it's the opposite of that. I'm excited about getting out onto the road again. I'm on the road again. I can't wait to get on the road again. I'm on the road again. So who's going to LS Fest West? Anybody? Anybody? Is the V12 ever going to put on the dyno? Yeah, I went over that earlier. After the LS Fest West show, it gets shipped out to Brian Tooley Racing, and then we're going to dyno it. I think a couple of Rover V8s would make a good V16 project. We use an innovative T70 at 45 pounds on our billet KZ1327 funny bike. You can spool a big turbo with a little engine. Yeah, it just happens. It's just a matter of the amount of NA power versus the turbo sizing, and then when you could get it to cross over. Just on a bike engine, it just makes that power and has the necessary exhaust flow at a much higher engine speed. This can't be reliable and mostly will break. It's been run, so it's not going to break. Welding blocks together is not uncommon for repair. They do that to top fuel blocks, so that's not uncommon at all. The weld is as strong as the block is going to be. The weld is going to be as strong as the surrounding material, so that's not an issue. We keep seeing these EFI carb clones. I'm interested in trying to blow through a setup. They seem to include map sensors and have some self-tuning. The self-tuning thing, I'm not sure about. I mean, for closed loop stuff, I think that's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea for wide open throttle stuff. But I have run at least one of those setups. And the new Holley one, I think, is supposed to be pretty good. I just haven't tested it yet. But I remember running a fast, like a whatever, I think I want to call it an easy EFI. But it was something like that where we did a blow through on it and it worked fine. What time did you come on? About 50, so about 10 o'clock. Do you have horsepower and torque estimate? I don't. All I want is it to work, and then we'll worry about the power output. You got to make a crank and cam. Those seem like bigger challenges. The camshaft is welded together. The crank can be welded together, although this one, like I said, was a billet crank, I think. We used Angulag and methanol. It made 10 pounds at 6,500. Okay. Lucy Boyce had the idea of a 2KZ or so they want to make a 6-cylinder version of a K20 motor. All of that's possible. I mean, there's no reason that can't be done. A straight 8 2JZ. Yeah, it's easier to go that way because people are saying, yeah, you should make a V12 out of 2Js, but that's a lot more work. A straight 8 with 2 complete K series. Yeah, you could do that. The problem with extending the length like that is that especially if you're trying to make a lot of power and a lot of engine speed, crank flex becomes a real thing. The harmonics of the crank become an issue. I thought about welding up some LS heads to modify and bolt to a Dodge V10. What is the bore spacing on the Dodge compared to the LS? Are they the same? That's why a lot of these combinations work, is because they have similar enough bore spacings, like the guys that put Ford heads or LS heads on the 300 Ford, the inline 6-cylinder. They're not the same, but they're comparable. Same with a small block Ford and a LS. Do you happen to know if there's much gain to be from porting 317 heads? Yeah, if you're trying to make NA power, you can have a dramatic change in properly porting 317 heads. I've seen 317 heads that flow 330, and stock they're going to flow 250. So it will support way more power from a ported version. They still suffer from big chambers and not totally efficient chamber designs as well. but you can make a lot more power. I mean, the 3.7 ported set of 317s are what we did to make the 1540 horsepower Big Bang motor. So you can make lots of power with them. It'd be a very long crank for a straight 8 2J. Yeah, I agree. Should be the same as a 318 Dodge. We can take LS heads. Well, all you have to do is go online and look up bore spacing. Look up Dodge, small block Dodge 318 or 360 bore spacing, and then look up LS bore spacing and see what they are. And so you can go, oh yeah, that will, at least from that standpoint, that will work. But that's not the only thing. Now, do the bolt holes line up? Are the push rods going to be able to go through and miss the block? You know, there are a lot of other things that have to come into play. It's not just, oh, hey, look, this is a flat surface and this is a flat surface, and look, they can bolt together. That's why Bugatti made their straight 8 with small bores to get the crank pins close together for less torsional flex. Yeah. There was a Buick straight 8 in the local pull apart. Got 2 more minutes and I got a roll. I got a motor. Is it weird that I'm like every bit as excited about the about the Metro XFI, about washing the Metro XFI as I am about taking the LS, the 12-cylinder LS to LS Fest? Yeah, there is that kind of weirdness does exist. Yes, he actually is that weird. Let's see. 1 more minute. Let's see. Pete Ardema on adapting heads. Yeah, Pete's been to West Tech a whole bunch of times. I've seen lots of his stuff. Toyota made a V12 that's an iron block. That's 2 JZs. Well, it's the bore and stroke and maybe the heads from 2 JZs, but obviously the V12 block is unique. And that's the hard thing about putting 2 JZs together, putting two 2JZ 6-cylinder blocks together and making a V12 it would be quite a task. The factory could definitely do it because they just make a new block, because you can do that if you're a factory, but that becomes pretty expensive if you're a regular guy. We weld a lot of stuff in our factory, but it always changes the dimensions. It can change the dimension, and you have to be really good at welding to know how to minimize that. But then after all of the block is welded, then it's all remachined to make it straight. Random, but an LS with a roots blower. I have a video up on that. Do you know of any way to spray nitrous directly into the port? Yeah, your blower is going to have a lower manifold on it, and you can plumb nitrous to that. I would recommend not doing that. I would recommend having it go through the blower because it will help. But you can also have fogger systems set up in the ports. Do I generally consider putting a Geo Metro on my Sanrail? The G10 Turbo is a good combo and fuel efficient. Yeah, I like those, and I have a couple of Sprint turbo motors. If I were you, I would pick something with like a 4-valve motor that's much more efficient. But it is, I like these though. Like the wrong cam shirt. Yep, I used to have a couple of Metros that had plenty of power and they were cheap on gas. Yeah, I'm hoping that I can't right now. I got lots of stuff to talk about on the Metro. How many hours is the trip? The one up to Seattle was 12 up and 12 back. This one will be 7, 4. With this one will be another 11 or 12 by the time I get out to Vegas. Sure needs a foundry. Yep. I'll do live videos while I'm there. Try a wet shot through the throttle body. I with a blower, the way that the guys from Freiberger did it when they did the tunnel ram and the blower, they did a wet kit and it helps with charge cooling a lot. But theirs was also carbureted too. If it's carbureted and you already have lots of charge cooling going on through the blower, then it would be fine to run they ran the nitrous and they also ran E85 on it. And the blower likes that, especially if you're wicking the thing up. Alan, what's going on? Bunty, do you have fuel going through the blower? Because you're going to have some fuel going through the blower, right? I want to go 85 EFI. Okay, so but are you going to inject that into the top of the blower? Because that would be ideal. Just saying. Yeah, you'll want to have fuel flow through the blower, especially if it's an old school 671. It's going to have that. Here in Vegas, looking forward to tomorrow. Didn't know if it was possible, just a long shot. Yeah, it's all of that's possible. They made good power. I think that with the nitrous, they made like, I want to say near 1,500 or something with the blower that they did. And that becomes more critical. You have to have or most of them are set up with fuel going through the blower, even if you're running a 6 or 7 pound. But it becomes more critical if you're really spinning the blower up and you're making like lots of boost. On that note, it's time to go. Thank you guys. once again, I'll get on the road again and I'll talk to you guys all tomorrow.